Hello and welcome to the Huddle. I'm your host, JT Thomas, broadcasting live from the Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. here at the Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill. Ladies and gentlemen, we're just coming off a huge road win, West Virginia versus the Texas Longhorns, and I have a few guests with me here today to kind of chop it up and talk it about. We have our good friend, old Mountaineer, Jeff Hallstedler. Give it up for Jeff.
That's right.
And we have somebody from the flip side of the coin. There's WV West Virginia Black Bears General Manager Matt Dreyer. Give it up for Matt. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about the Mountaineer game. We went down to Austin, Texas this weekend, Jeff, and not to many of our surprise, because Gary and I, we talk about it pretty often about the Mountaineers going down there having a great game. And we have to say, we started that game off really well, Jeff, to see the Mountaineers go down there and really take command of the game early on by being able to score 10 points early in the first part of that game. Talk about it. Share with us your opinion of what that does for a team going down into hostile territory, being able to play against an opponent like Texas.
Oh, on the road against a team like Texas, it's a tough place to go play. And come down, jump ahead right away is big for a team. It's big for your confidence. It's kind of gets you relaxed and able to start playing the game. I think sometimes some of these big games you get so hyped up that you don't play, you make mistakes, you do things like that. Jumping ahead early on the road against Texas, that's huge.
Gary and I, we talked about this last week in terms of we was concerned about Skylar Howard going down there and having this game being a game that it would potentially get in his mind. But Gary, we saw him perform very well.
I think Skylar Howard did a good job. It's really tough to go to another environment. It's always good when you can get points on the board first or to have some success, whether it's a field goal or to score a touchdown. And to have that control early in the game really helped us out. I think Skylar played within himself. I mean, we had some turnovers during the game, but you can expect that a team, it was the same as coming into our environment. You can expect their team to play big, to play to make some turnovers or to make some good plays in their home environment, and we were able to weather that storm.
Matt, we think about going and playing in the game like this. This is a huge game and big for the Mountaineers. People saw us beat Kansas, not Kansas, but beat our last opponent, and was wondering if we were going to be able to go down there and play against a team who needed to win this game.
That's right.
Texas needed to win this game, and they just fell really short. It just kind of speaks to Mountaineers preparing to go down there and play in the hostile territory. Just talk about, what you think about our team going down there playing in that type of environment.
I think they really played to the game plan that Holgerson planned out with. I think Skylar had a great game. I was really impressed with McCoy. Had a great game on the ground. Offense made some big holes for them to run through, and they just made that, try to limit as many turnovers as they could, and they got the W. I was happy with that.
Gary and I, we talk about this in terms of we always are very I want to say shy about saying stuff about the offensive line.
Right.
But the offensive line held their own. I mean, for the most part. I talk about Texas having such a big defensive front, they had a lot of talent. That offensive line, Jeff, I thought just did an outstanding job early on competing against a very strong and talented Texas team.
Well, I tell you what, as a quarterback, if your offensive line isn't playing, you're not playing. I mean, I think one of the biggest improvements that we've seen from Skylar Howard has been because of that offensive line. Right. He's got some big guys up front that are doing a great job. If they can keep a guy off your back and able to give you some time, give you a little distance in between the defenders and yourself as a quarterback, you're able to see things a little bit easier, able to relax, throw the football. They're the big reason why we've been so successful this year. Your offensive line, that's how your offense goes. Not only in a passing game, but in a running game. And, there's some big studs there and doing a great job.
Absolutely. You mentioned the run game.
Right.
I was really concerned that we had our freshman guy in there, and you pointed out, Gary, last week that we had a senior, a junior college transfer,
Right.
and a freshman.
That's
and this
right.
week, the freshman had to carry the water, Gary. What do you think about you guys?
Well, the best part about McCoy coming in and carrying the ball is that, to be honest, he's got the experience. He's been able to get his carries throughout the season. I mean, and the truth of the matter is he's ready to play. You see him week in and week out. When he gets an opportunity to run the football, he does a good job. And so I wasn't surprised to see him get the bulk of the carries. You talk about Crawford being banged up and Shell being banged up. So he just had to come in and step in place and do what was asked of him. And I think with the offensive line being as strong as they are, that gave us the opportunity to go in there and get some good run yards.
Matt, that just says a lot about a coach having enough confidence to put a freshman in the ball game and say, hey, you have to carry our team. It just says a lot about the kid being prepared to come in here and do his job. What do you think about McCoy doing what he did?
I thought he had a solid performance. He took care of the opportunity he was given. He was able to take the ball, run a lot of yards up, and it just kind of proves that Coach Holgerson has a lot of faith in him, and I'm looking forward to him for this coming weekend to play.
And, Coach Holgerson, I sat and I kind of watched how the dynamics of the sideline was going, and it seemed to me that he saw that McCoy was doing well, that he could handle this.
Right.
Once he tried to rotate a few guys in and said, hey, let this kid run the ball, then our guys are going to stand up. Now, to complement that, as we just mentioned, Jeff, we had 8 receivers in the ball game. And, if you think about when you played, Jeff, and your first game against Oklahoma, just imagine if you would have had 8 receivers rotating the game in 1982.
Well, I'll tell you, we could have used them because that day I think it was 113 on the field.
Wow.
So obviously just having the bodies and being able to rotate would have helped tremendously. But actually we didn't need it that day. We did a pretty good job with what we had. So I think I look at our team, the Mountaineers, they're just so athletic. Mm-hmm. And when you start looking at successful teams, most successful teams are going to be able to plug players in. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be guys that go down. There's somebody that's not going to be playing to their potential, whether they're dinged up or just having a bad day. And successful teams, good teams, are coached in such a way that they have confidence in all your players. And so when a player knows that he may have the opportunity to be plugged in, he's going to prepare a little bit more. It shouldn't be that way,
right?
But it is that way.
Right,
and when you know that you have a chance to play, during that week, you better prepare, because lots of times you may only get one opportunity. If you don't take advantage of it, you may not see the field again. So I think that's a compliment to the guys that are there, the athletes. They're able to plugged in. They're able to be confident in being able to put them in there and them go out and do their job. And so as a coach, when he knows, hey, I can plug him in, I can I can give this guy a rest, and I'm still not going to lose anything, I think that's huge. And these guys have proved that that's what they're capable of doing.
It has to be something to be said about the grit of this team,
yes.
right?
Yes.
After the loss against Oklahoma State, to be able to say, listen, we're a better team, we're prepared, we know what we can do, and they continually get it done. And I talk about this, Gary, about how we like to be blue-collar type of football players, or be a blue-collar club, because when we take games one at a time, we prepare better than anybody else. What do you think about our team preparing for these big games?
Well, I wonder what kind of social skill and life skills training these guys are getting within the stadium. I mean, football is life. If you've ever played football, you've heard that before, because you're going to get knocked down in football. You're going to have some hard times in life too, and so you got to be able to bounce back from that. And so to see these guys taking these games one at a time, not having any off-field incidents, being a well-coached football team just kind of tells me that they're I expect this group of athletes that are here during this time to do well in life, to not hear about them just as we didn't hear about them here while they're playing for the school, to not hear about them having incidents in their personal lives, to watch them grow and have success. And if they happen to have any small bumps in the road, to watch them to continue to grow and to get better in that way. So I think it speaks again to the coaching staff. And having a young guy come in like McCoy who can run the ball, let's think about that. There's really not a lot of pressure on him. We've got a good offensive line, and we've got 8 other guys at the receiver position that can catch the ball and make plays for us. So ultimately, we just need you to not go in there and turn the ball over for us, and I think he does a very good job of putting 2 hands on the ball when he's in traffic. I mean, he's a hard runner, too. I've seen him punish some guys this season also. So I think he's just doing a great job, and I really like what's going on with our football team.
Matt, when you have so many weapons, we were able to run the ball, we were able to pass the ball all in the first half, have so many weapons, and then have a quarterback that's able to slide every once in a while and make defenses really have to play all over the field. Just seems to me to be a bonus for our ball club. Last week, Gary and I talked about different formations in terms of Coach Hogerson being able to really open the playbook. And that's what I kind of saw against this team. And it really, I believe, in that first half, we just overwhelmed Texas with the amount of configurations of plays and so forth. Just talk about what they must have was thinking of, what it would have took for Texas to gather themselves before being able to put up a fight against West Virginia.
Sure. A lot of you look at what the game plan was is just, go out there. It almost seems like they overwhelmed the defense. And I thought that was a good play, a good strategy. And like you mentioned about, subbing to, 8 different receivers. That's a lot. That's a lot for our defense to understand who's going in, what's the stats, how fast did this guy run, what routes this guy going to run. And that gives a lot of credit to Skyler to know the strength and weakness for every single one of his receivers. That's 8 guys is a lot of knowledge to know about the good and the bad between your own teammates. Then you open up the run game. I thought it was a great game plan. And Skyler with his mobility really, really helped as well.
Right. You make a great point, Gary. Both of us, we could speak to that in terms of preparing for, when you get that game plan.
Yes.
As a defensive player,
right,
they get the game plan for us. They kind of highlight who's going to be where.
Right.
But you never expect to see 8 different guys.
No, when you watch film, you tend to watch the guy that you expect to play against.
Right.
And in any given team, you're going to see, their first 3 receivers, maybe 4. You don't expect to see the 8th guy. It's hard to prepare for him because you haven't seen how quick he is on offense. You don't know if he's a big guy, a smaller guy. You don't know what the tendencies are to go. I'm sure there's players that were out there this week that they had never seen on film. But that's also to our advantage. We got the advantage in that department. So, I think for the defense, it's just hard to figure out what the West Virginia offense is going to do, which I think is Coach Hogerson's strong point. He keeps defensive guessing. Instead of having the defense dictate to them what to do, he takes what they're going to give them, and we make big plays out of it.
Going into this game, and I have to say early on, at the beginning of the year, I was concerned that we were going to be young on offense and defense, really young on defense in terms of new guys, a new set of guys being able to come out and compete. But yet I have to say this, and you have to point to, as Matt mentioned, how Coach Hogerson has really been able to just dial this offense up. Really kind of speaks to what he seems to be a master at. Jeff, just talk about where his mindset is. 8-1. I don't think people expect. In fact, I know in the Big 12 they had us seated, I believe, two places above last. Talk about the mindset of Coach Hogerson getting his team preparing for this 2016 season.
Well, I think his offense is finally coming into fruition. I think he's finding the sweet spot.
Yes.
And I think the guys around the kids that he's coaching, they're finally understanding, what this offense can do, where they need to be, see the production of it. But I think a lot of that falls really on their quarterback too.
Right.
And they've got a veteran quarterback that comes in and has proven that he can handle the offense, has put them in some really good spots, been able to take advantage of what defense gives you and shows you, and then has been able to actually perform and execute it. And so, when that stuff happens, everything starts going well. Our key is when things aren't going well.
Right.
And, it's easy to play when everything's moving along real nice and you got guys making plays and you're just making big gains here and there. But when things aren't going well, that's when, guys really got to get back into, what is my role? What am I supposed to do? Bill Parcells used to always say this about a guy playing within himself, and he used to describe me that way, and it used to really bug me. I'm thinking, what does playing within myself mean? And actually, it's a huge compliment because it's a team game, and each of us has, a role that we have to play. And lots of times when you aren't being successful, you look across the board, you got 10 guys that are successful and doing what they're doing and one guy that's not. And so you got to get back into, hey, what is my role? What am I supposed to be doing? Don't go outside of that box. Stay in it because I'm covered. I'm covered here to my left. I'm covered here to my right. I think that's where we're at right now. I think we've got guys that know what their role is. You got 8 guys coming in wide receiver. They all know what their role is,
right.
And so I think that's throughout that whole team. That offensive line, they know what their role is. They know the guy beside him, what he's supposed to do. And, Skyler's putting it all together. And I think when he gets himself in trouble, he's trying to put it too much on his shoulders. Right. And like most quarterbacks, that's what happens. As long as he can say, hey, let me get the ball in these guys' hands and let them make plays, I think we're going to be successful.
I agree with that. We had someone echo that the last time we was here. Right. That was Coach Nealon talking about how the guys played as a team. Right. I think you spoke on that, Gary, in terms of how they just have come together and played very well as a corporate group.
I think it's a good unit, and I agree with Jeff. I think Coach Holgerson has kind of come into his own. It may have taken him a few years, and I think that we've sort of questioned again his ability to either play call or calls that he made in certain situations. I think in the past we may have thrown too many long balls, went for the points instead of controlling the ball. I think now we get the points, but we get them because the defense is giving them to us. We see a matchup, a mismatch out on the outside with one of the receivers. We see a matchup problem with the linemen versus their linebackers, and so we take the run. And now we're not just going for points. We're taking whatever is going to give us positive yards on offense, and so we just keep moseying our way down the field, giving what you take us, and before you know it, we've got 30 points, and there's the game. And we rely on our defense to stop you. We make some big plays. Every game is going to probably come down to a couple big plays or some turnovers, and we tend to be the team winning that game right now.
All right, well, I'm going to give somebody an opportunity to make a big play right now. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the part of the show we kind of give away something. And to win, all you have to do is have listened to what we have said throughout the show and be the first one down. Raise your hand. We'll get the mic over to you. But before I say that, I want to remind you, we're here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. at the Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill. So here's my question. We make them very easy for you. All I need to know, what was the score for the first half of the game? The first half of the game. First half of the game. At halftime, what was the score? We get it? All right, I'll give you some options. It was either 7-3, 10-7, 14-7. 7-3, 10-7, 14-7. See, what'd you say? Who? The second one. There you go. That works. The second one works. There you go. Our winner. The halftime score was 10-7. That was the second one. And you get to win this. I hope you're old enough to feel this.
I know. Right?
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming out. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we're here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. at the Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill. And to win, all you have to do is come here. And if you don't catch us here, make sure you go to the DominionPost.com. Look in the football section. We'll always be there. Guys, let's get ready to jump back into you. And kind of how we do this, we got to talk about defense now. Gary and I are both defensive guys.
That's right.
And as Coach Gibby say, we got to talk about them dogs.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, the defense has just been doing a phenomenal job. And I have to say, going down there playing against Texas with the defense that we had, Jeff, just speaks very well in terms of how these guys are playing together. You had Christian Brown, Noble Wakachu, who was injured.
Back.
That was a big piece of the puzzle that wasn't able to play this game, but yet the guys stepped right up and performed very well. What do you think about defense?
Hey, defense wins championships.
There you go.
It does, man.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you what, these guys have performed really well. And again, offensively, we got guys plugging in and fulfilling a role that they need to. Same with defensively. And I think these guys are playing really well. They bend, but they don't break. They make it very difficult. They're coming from all over the place, trying to confuse, doing a real nice job, very athletic. I hated defenses when I was playing against them. I made a lot of highlight films because of defenses, because of being on a sack or something like that. But, these guys are playing really well, and they're really they've got a major role in why we're 8-1.
Right. Matt, I want to come to you because I got a big one for Gary. Matt, to be able to have a defense that lost 4 players to the NFL last year, I was very skeptical about it. I think Gary and I, we both started off wondering what we're going to do. What we're going to do. We lost 4 guys that went on to the NFL. That's a huge void. Mm-hmm. But yet these guys have been able to come on and really allow themselves to be coached by Coach Gibby, and they're performing at a high level.
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to the culture of the locker room, the culture of the team, and the depth that they have when they're out recruiting. And it really shows that they went out, they scouted really well, they found the players that fit their system. And when you have those guys that graduated or became NFL prospects and now playing for the NFL team, that they're able to fill those voids with guys in their team. So they weren't missing a lot of players, and what Jeff mentioned, they were able to take guys, plug them in the holes where you need, and they haven't missed a step.
Mm-hmm. Gary, what I want to talk about I want to talk about those 6'6" receivers that they were so worried about. I just felt like our corners was beating them up. Talk about what that would have probably felt like for a guy to play against that type of talent in Texas in a big game like this.
Well, I can tell you because, I'm not quite 6'6", but when I was here, we played against Randy Moss, and I think that was the first big threat, and it was my first season as a starter, so that was my first season against one of the best receivers of all time. So, when you go down and you get that kind of challenge as a defensive back, we have different kinds of minds. You beat us this play, and we think we'll beat you the next 10 plays, and we'll keep doing that, and no matter what happens, we'll still think that we're on top. So I think that's the kind of confidence you got to have when you play defensive back, and I think that these guys went down there with that attitude that I'm just better than you at this position. I'm going to win more plays than you're going to win, and I think they did.
I felt like our corners just I don't want to say intimidated their receivers, but I constantly saw our guys up in their face.
We went after them.
I saw them, like, when they got up, if they made a catch, our guys were right on them.
Right.
That's a part of intimidation, right, Jeff?
Yes,
Right? If you catch the ball on me and I stand up to you, that's a part of us saying, listen, this is going to be me all night on you. Talk about that.
Defensively, that's the norm. That's when you're up against a great player, a guy that he's going to talk, but he's going to back it up.
Right.
Reggie White, Hall of Famer that I played against, defensive lineman. I remember him hitting me. He's all over me. He's getting up. He puts his hand out and lifts me up and said, I'll be here all night. See you next play. And then he backed it up. And so when you got guys out there that are confident enough that they can go ahead and they start to talk, talking's one thing, but you better back it up.
Right.
And, these guys are athletic. Defensive backs, I think probably the best athletes out on the football field. To think about what they have to do to guard the guys on the opposite side with the speed and size they have, you have to be confident, and you have to have a very short memory.
Right.
And but you got to be confident. And these guys, they'll pick it up. They'll know, hey, this guy doesn't think he can cover me.
Right.
And when you don't think you can cover, or when a guy thinks that, hey, he can't cover me, it's going to be a long day. So these guys do a really nice job.
Absolutely. And to your point, oftentimes you get wide receivers that will communicate with a corner and say, you can't cover me, getting into their head. Yeah. They'll do that just to try to get the cornerback thinking, doubting yourself. You know what I mean?
We saw more of that, though, from our defensive backs.
Right.
Like you said, guys, when they get in your chest and in your face on defense, then it's pretty much over. And then truthfully, you don't expect something like that to happen down in College Station.
Right.
Not on your home field. You take a little bit more pride in that. So I think the fact that we were able to get in their face and sort of get into their head, I think the defensive backs at least knew that we had an advantage in that area.
Yeah, it was, I'm going to talk about one kid that I'm just so proud of, Justin Arndt.
Yes.
Justin Norton, I think, is a 5'11", 215-pound guy. I remember at the top of the season they were talking about how he was undersized, right? And I remember when my son came, he was a little taller, but he was about 210 pounds, freshman. Everybody's worried about his weight, never got over 230, you know. Justin Norton led the team in tackle this past weekend.
Right.
The kid was all over the place. You know, when you're getting guys to play as the last coach who was here, God dang it, Castile, yes. I felt like Castile used to be able to get guys to play above themselves, right? And it seems to me that Gibby had that same mentality. And the word that he uses, he likes for his guys to play with the edge. And I have to say, that linebacker core with the leadership of Justin Norton, who's been there, fifth-year senior, doing quite well. Talk about that in terms of just young group. That linebacker core, all new guys. None of those guys are from last year. Those guys are playing exceptionally well right now.
A lot of it comes with Gibby. I think he's doing a great job coaching. And you know, he's just, you know, it's all about fundamentals. It's about the basics. It's about hitting guys hard. Make sure they don't get up. You give a little chirp. You know, chirp out, let them know, you know, I'm going to be on you all day, every day, all day Saturday. And a lot of like what Jeff mentioned, and it's a mental game just as much as a physical game. And we have a great group of guys, you know what they do with blocking the run, stopping the pass, having guys coming out with alligator arms who's afraid they're going to get hit. You know, that's what you're talking about. That's a smash mouth defense, and I think that's something we have. I enjoy watching them, and I think that's a key for the wins that we've had so far this season.
You know, I used to, and I say this every week, I used to be concerned about the 3-3-5, right? Three front guys, guys coming from all over the place. As Coach Nealon said, it's kind of really window dressing, and we're always having four guys coming. But to watch Kazir White come up and hit the quarterback like he did, and that was a slobber knocker.
Yes. More than just a slobber knocker. It was a fantastic football play.
Absolutely.
I mean, because he got the ball, too, in that instance. So I was really glad to see him, you know, like you said, slobber knocker, good hit, but he turned the ball loose. I mean, he jarred the ball loose from the quarterback, and in the same breath had the sense to fill the fumble and to make sure that he secured the football. I mean, after taking a few looks, you know, a few replays, they were able to give us the ball back. I was really glad to see that. That's a great play. I'm sure that's going to make the end of the year film.
Right. Jeff, I'm sure you've probably been on one.
I'm sure he'll make the highlight films. Yeah. It deserves to, though. I mean, it was a huge play. Huge play. You know, and as a quarterback, hey, that's the thing you got to be alert of. You got to be able to survey the field, know where the threat's coming from, and that's the credit for the defense to be able to disguise that enough that he has no clue. And when you have no clue, bad things are going to happen.
Yeah, every week we've seen this, right? Every week we've seen a linebacker or safety getting to the quarterback, which means he's disguising it very well. I mean, he is just doing a great job, you know. And again, guys, I get maybe overly excited about this because I really like defense. I really like to see solid hits, you know. And I can't give our guys enough credit. Specifically playing with one of your key guys, Noble Wakatu, not playing in the game. I just think that just says a lot about these guys, Gary.
Well, it's always been team defense. That's what I've looked at, the way that these guys have been playing. You constantly, I don't think you can watch any play except a play like the sack and not see six guys around the ball. And even when we get the turnovers, unless we get a clean interception like a few Rasul has gotten throughout the year, you tend to see a tip and three or four guys, you know, rushing to the football. Even the fumbles that we've had, you just get guys running. And that's the sign of a good defense. You got to want it. It's a team game. It's a team defense. And even if you get there first and for some odd reason you can't get the guy, hold on. You know the rest of you guys are coming. They're going to help come clean up. So I think that defense has done a great job. And I think the defensive line, even though that 3-3-5 is sometimes, I'm not going to lie, I've never really been sold on that, but we've done a great job with it. Even though we've only got three linemen, I expected, as we said last week, that this game would be won at the line of scrimmage. And I actually expected Texas to do a little bit better with their run game, seeing as though they have a really good running back. And I expected us, you know, to maybe have some trouble at times, with the quarterback, some in the sacks that we gave up. But otherwise, I think as a whole, the game, we dominated that line of scrimmage, and I think that was the difference as close as the game was.
Hey, I agree. I do want to throw this out before I go to break. They actually did perform better we did in terms of total yards. They did over 300-something yards, total yards, and we did 269, right? But yet we controlled that game. But I'm going to go to break, and I want to get you guys to remember to be here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. at the Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again where we asked you the question, and all you had to do is be listening. We certainly gave you the answers multiple times. And all I need to know from you is, what is the nickname that Coach Gibby gives his defense? Ooh.
Got one in the back there.
The Dogs.
You got it?
The Dogs.
The Dogs. Yes, you're absolutely right. We said that multiple times.
That's right.
And you got yourself a parking pass or a parking reserve spot. You may not be using this for a while.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming out. Guys, again, just to win, all you have to do is come down. I'm going to show you what we're giving away. So, guys, you need to pay attention. This is a Steve Slayton picture. Really nice player card. WVU player card. It's really, really nice. So pay attention. Pay attention. Guys, we're here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. at the Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill. And if you don't catch us here, make sure you go to the DominionPost.com. Look in the football section. We'll always be there. Guys, we're going to keep this thing rolling. We always talk about three sides of the ball here, so we have to get into special teams. And, you know, sometimes we get concerned about special teams, and we kind of got the answer last week in terms of what we learned about the philosophy of Coach Hogerson in terms of the punting game, right? I thought we did well, and I'll start off with punt. But we'll certainly move into the other phases of it. The punting game. I talk about us conceding the punt to the other team. And what I mean by that, we tend to want to go for the block. We don't set up walls. But then I'll share with you what Coach Dunlap said about what do you think about in terms of how we are dealing with the punts on our football team?
Well, a lot of us, when we're dealing with the punts, is you got to know your opponent, what their skills and weaknesses are regarding about punt returns, how dangerous the guy is, what his speed is, what their blocking patterns are. And I thought we've matched up really well so far this season, watching that and really just watching the film, putting the extra time in. So when we're going against a guy that's got a high octane speed guy, that we know what to do, put it the right formations, and not always go for the block and go more defensively and making sure that they're not going to big return on us.
Right. And so Coach Hogerson says his philosophy is he doesn't set up the wall, right? He doesn't set up for punt return. And I'm not sure why, but he does. He wants to secure the ball, and he said it in the press conference where he wants to secure the ball. He'll go for the block more times than he will in terms of setting up for a punt return. Now, when Gary and I played, we always talked about the wall, right? We would be coached to set up the wall, and that runner would get to the wall. Right. You would see guys like Tavon Austin, running touchdown because they get to that wall and they're running touchdowns. Right. But for the most part, right now it seems like, and you got to stick with them, because what we didn't do that we did a couple of years ago, we would fumble punts. Right? I don't think we fumbled one this year.
No, I don't believe so.
A punt. So what do you think about that? I'm not superstitious, so.
I'm not either, but if it helps, that's great. You know what? I think it's just because he just wants to get the offense out on the field. I think that's all it is. He just wants to get the offense back out. He doesn't care where it is on the field. He just wants to get the offense out. I'm not quite sure why that isn't part of our philosophy here right now. That's a coaching decision. So, I think the big thing, if you look at every week in and out, every time there's a punt, there's always seems to be a flag. There always seems. So, maybe it's just a situation where he's playing the odds and saying, listen, just want to catch the ball. Wherever we're at, great. Now let's get our offensive out there. And to be honest with you, his philosophy is it's probably the thinking behind it. I'm probably way off base, but that's the nice thing about not being a coach. I can sit here and complain about him all the time.
Yeah, that's what I say about this show. We're able to sort of tell you what we think. Right. But I almost kind of agree with that. I feel like he wants to get that offense out there on the field. I mean, proof has been in the pudding. He's 8-1 right now. So, I mean, he's doing well. But let's move on and talk about, last week with Coach Dunlap talked about our ability to go down on coverage and how well we do in kickoff and kickoff return. That's been a bonus for us.
That has been.
I think we've flipped the field on punt. And we've also done a good job of keeping people in regard to field position, Gary, on kickoff.
No matter what we have seen from our teams in the past with our dynamic returners and our dynamic, kick return, punt return guys that kind of make the crowd go crazy, we're still winning the kicking game. And that's something that I want to remind people. We're winning those kicking games. People aren't getting big returns against us.
Right.
And we're not getting any big returns either. But people aren't getting big returns against us. And we're not turning over the ball. We're not muffing the punt. We're not getting punts blocked. So I think we're still doing well in that regard. And in each week, I think Molina gets a little bit more confident. So we're a plus on that side. And I think Jeff is right with what he's saying in the fact that Coach Holgerson, with his offensive mind, I think he just says, hey, just put the ball out there somewhere and
give me the ball.
we'll drive it down the field. So I don't think he's really worried about that. And I think there's a possibility that he has seen something in our practices that says, you know what, we got a long ways to go on this, so let's just not mess it up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And again, like I said, I feel like he's doing a good job. I mean, we're good there. Guys, let's keep it moving. At this point, guys, we're going to flip it over to one of our upcoming game against Oklahoma. And the person who probably knows a great deal about Oklahoma is Jeff. He started his career off here with the Mountaineers in 1982. First game playing against the Oklahoma Sooners. He beat them here. Was it in Morgantown or was it?
No, it was out in Oklahoma.
Oh,
113 to see a red.
Wow. Talk about that game, Jeff. I was probably 10 years old.
Yeah, I know. There's probably nobody in here that was born back then. Anyhow, it was a great way to start our season. We were, I think at the time, Oklahoma, they were ranked 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there. And we were actually supposed to go out and kill their horse because it was going to die of heat exhaustion from running around the field so much because they were scoring so much. So for us, we had prepared all off season and to go out and to beat them there, a sea of red. I mean, I don't know how many the stadium held, but it was just packed. And it was a great atmosphere. Like I said, it's 113 on the field. At that time, the field was crowned so that they were running that veer option. Those guys would start in the middle and run downhill, and they were very, very successful at it. But for us to go out, go down 14-0 and then come back and beat them was a huge win for our team and for our state, for our program.
Wow, first game. Just talk. I want. This is a personal question. What did you feel like? I mean, again, like I mentioned earlier, I played quarterback. That first game, you're usually a little nervous. You get prepared, but you're usually a little nervous. And what I did, I remember when I first was playing quarterback, you mess up a snap once in a while. Did you have any of those issues?
No, you know what? For me, I felt pretty confident. And one of the things that I would, if I had the opportunity to talk to the guys before the game, is put in your work now. Go ahead, do all your prep work. Put in the extra work. Watch a little bit more film. Do a little bit more study. Do all that stuff now so that come game time, you don't have any doubts in what you're supposed to do, what you got game planned, what you expect. All that stuff's off. Then you could go out and play. Right. And for us, I think as a team, we were the same way. We went out there, we were well prepared. And all of a sudden to fall behind 14-0, everybody didn't turn around and look at each other and say, oh no, here it goes again. We were all ready to go. We knew what we had to do, and we were prepared to do it. And I think that's what our guys need to do. They need to do their prep work now, which is hopefully what they're in the process of doing. By game time, they've done all the mental work. Now they just go out and play.
Absolutely. Gary, this game has been, we're 4-1 in the series in terms, they're up on us 4-1 in terms of playing it. Coach Holgerson has not beat him yet. Gary, this has been a thorn in our side for the most part, playing Oklahoma. But the good thing about it is I feel like we're playing them in the right space in the right time. We got them here at Mountaineer Field. They're the reigning Big 12 champs. Right. Talk about what our team has to do to get prepared for Oklahoma coming here on Saturday.
Well, I remember something Coach Nillen said about his two undefeated teams, the 88 and the 93 team. He said, you know, if you look at those games, somewhere during the season we had to get a break. And so I look at our season right now, we're not able to go undefeated. But during this season, we've gotten the right breaks. I think I'm going to go ahead and say Oklahoma State was not better than us. And I hate, you know, because you look at the score and you say, okay, well, they beat you. They caught us in the hiccup, and I still maintain that. However, we've had the breaks when necessary. We've gotten the turnovers, and we have a lot of experience in this season so far. We have had the ups. We've had to come back. We've beaten TCU, which was another team that we struggled with. And so I think during this year, we've had a lot of things happen to this team that they've been able to weather and maintain the storm. And I think this game is going to be one of those games that you look back and say, okay, well, here's another thing that we got over during the season. At least that's what I'm hoping for. And I think having it in this situation, 8-1, here on Mountaineer Field, and a night game, I think all of those things play to our advantage. And I think, again, when you look at everybody talks about their 12th man, I think our 12th man is as good as anybody. And I think that they'll be rowdy. And even in that regard, I like the fact that our fans have kind of changed their demeanor towards the other team. But it's all going well for us right now, and I hate to get too excited because, you know, you got to play the game. But I think that a lot of things are in our favor in this game, and I think Coach Hoganson will have some tricks, no trick plays, but he'll have some sets and some formations. I expect the same out of Coach Gibby, to have some different looks that will give them some struggle. And we've seen Oklahoma early in the season not quite look like Oklahoma. So I think that we'll have a good showing against this team.
Guys, we're going to keep her moving. This is the portion of the section where we allow you to ask us questions. So if you would, my trivia. You guys are going to let me get away without walking away with this? Wow. And you guys got to be quick on this. What was the first year that Jeff played at West Virginia? He went to college in 81.
You got one more.
It was 82 because he had to sit out.
There you go. 80 actually when you went to college. 80 when you went to college. 81 you set out. I was trying to throw you off there. Good job. You was paying attention.
Congratulations.
All righty. Thank you, sir. Okay. Guys, this is where you guys you are able to ask us a question. If you would, raise your hand and we'll try to answer them the best of our ability. Oh, you go.
Well, I guess this question's for Jeff. You know, watching last week's game when Skyler threw that first interception, you know, we talked about how that can get in your head and you got to be able to forget that. And it kind of looked like towards the end of the game he wasn't shaking it off. You know, it concerned me at the end of the game. So, I mean, coming from somebody who obviously was able to shake it off, I mean, what kind of technique did you use to put that behind you?
Well, as a quarterback, it's tough, and some of the great ones have an ability just to go ahead and that play's over. They're just looking forward to the next one, and that's what he's been able to do that. But sometimes it's tough to shake it off, and then you know when you throw that second one, it gets a little tougher. It gets a little tighter, and and as a coach, you know, that's when good coaches will be able to say, okay, let's give him something. Let's get him a completion, something easy. Let's get something going. Let's get him back into the rhythm. And I think as a quarterback also, you got to start thinking, okay, get back to my basics. Let's get the completion. Don't try to force anything. I got my role. They've got theirs. Let me get the ball in their hands and make some plays. And I think that's what, you know, as you get going, you start to loosen back up and realize, hey, I've got more plays to make.
And, you know, and if I could just add on to that, I was an old former quarterback, so I do have an experience. So I remember, it just pops in my head that I remember I would always, the first couple of plays, if I threw it out, it hit the grass, right? It would just, I'd throw it into the dirt. And I would always say, my bad. And my coach used to say, listen, I don't want to hear my bad, you know. He wants to say, listen, I have confidence in you. I know you can play better. Step up. right? And when the coach deals with you like that, I think that's a part of it too, that, okay, this guy going to stick with me. I know I can perform better, and you tend to do much better when you know you got somebody that's sticking with you. Now, if you start getting behind in baseball, you get behind in the pitch or behind in the count, you start worrying about being taken out of the game. Skyler doesn't have to worry about that, but I know as a former quarterback, if you get all screwed up and it goes downhill if you don't get yourself out of the dumps. That's my thought. Any more questions? Hey.
What was Jeff's replacement starting quarterback in the Super Bowl?
Woo, good one.
In 1990, when I was with the Giants, that was the 90 season, and Phil Simms went down in the, I think, 13th week of the season. And so I came in and played the next two games, and then we made it to the playoffs. We played Chicago, beat Chicago, and then San Francisco and beat the 49ers, and then went to the Super Bowl and beat the Buffalo Bills. So that was way back then.
Thanks.
Super Bowl 25.
Bring your ring.
Yeah.
It'd have been nice.
I didn't bring it. I got two of them. I should wear them.
Any more questions? Any more questions?
I will just say something kind of funny off the side that with Jeff playing with the Giants and me from being from Western New York.
Okay.
And actually my wife's neighbor was Shane Collin from Frewsburg, New York. So that was kind of a unique thing there. We got a Bills guy, we got a Giants guy here, both Mountaineer graduates. So I just want to kind of let you know that.
Hey, I love the Bills.
I just love it. I bet you do. So I just want to give that out to you.
Got another question?
How do you think the weather's going to play a factor Saturday night?
Good point. That's a good question. I think we all can add on that. You want to start off, Gary?
I didn't hear it.
How do you think the weather's going to affect the game?
I think, unlike that Penn State game that we talked about from years past, I think, that favors us because you talk about Oklahoma or even getting down there in that Big 12 and in that region of the country, it's a little harder,
right.
A little warmer for them. And I think just anytime it's a little bit colder here, our fans are still going to show for the football game. So that's an important factor right there. And I also believe that our players, the guys have been here for a while, you're used to it. And in some cases, I grew up saying that, 75, 80 degrees was football weather, but then you get here and, that's 60 and below is football weather. You kind of get used to it. So it'll be somewhat of a factor, and maybe both sides have turned more toward the running game. But I don't expect us to abandon any of our offensive play calling. And I just think that no matter what happens with the weather, it's going to be a great atmosphere here. So I'm not quite sure how
that's spoken from a defensive guy. If it's lousy weather, it's tough to hold that stinking football. It's tough to throw it. So if the weather turns bad, obviously, to throw the football, you have issues with it, and that's the big thing. Right. I think it changes your mindset a little bit. You protect the football a little bit more. May not be going over the middle as much. Right. Sometimes some parts of the football field you kind of stay away from just because of difficulty in controlling the football. But with today's gloves that everybody can wear, quarterbacks can wear heaters. As long as that football's dry.
Right.
Cold weather, I don't think plays a factor.
Right.
Wet weather, I think, plays a factor. Yeah. So the cold, we can handle it. We'll handle whatever it is. It's just a matter of a mindset of protecting the football because, as you know, in these big games, turning the football over can cost you the game.
Yeah. Right. I agree, and that's really a great question because we don't have as many runners in terms of healthy runners. Yeah. So if we have to run a lot, it could play a huge aspect of the game. Another question?
Yes, sir. How you doing, Jeff?
Good. How you doing?
Good, Jeff. You faced a lot of defenses in college and professional. What one player really sticks out in your mind that maybe smacked you around real good, or was just tough? Who sticks out in your mind, Jeff?
Well, there's a couple of them that don't stick out in my mind because I can't remember after the hit. But the Philadelphia Eagles, their defense under Buddy Ryan was always a team that as a quarterback, you just knew that you were going to feel lousy for the following week because it was going to be such a physical game. So, Reggie White, again, a class act, a great guy off the field, on the field, an amazing player, a big, strong, but Chris Dolman, when I was West Virginia, I think one of my first plays against Pitt, I was dropping back and somebody yelled, "Look out," supposedly. But it was probably one of the toughest hits that I've had.
Great question. Great question. Any more? Any more? Remember, we won't be back here next week, so if you got a question, go ahead and ask it now. Are we good?
I have a question.
Okay.
What do you guys think about Coach Ferguson's sideline?
I thought it was intense.
Yeah. It's funny. 'Cause you hear some people try to say that that he's not a West Virginia guy. If that didn't prove it to you,
right,
that he wanted to win as bad as anybody. I just hope that he keeps that a little bit under control and he's there the whole game for Oklahoma.
I was afraid he was going to pop something in his forehead somewhere. He was a little. I'm wondering if he thought that he called a timeout or not. Huh?
He was upset. I knew that.
Yeah, but it is. There's a passion there,
Right.
and head coaches lots of times they'll play that game too.
Right.
They'll play that game where they're going to flip out, not only because they disagreed with a call or something, but it's also to show the rest of the team it's a rallying point.
Yes. Good point.
And sometimes those guys will rally around it and thinking, hey, look at him, he's fired up, he wants to win, let's go. And sometimes this game is so much from the neck up.
Yeah.
And some of the great coaches do such a great job from the neck up. And maybe that was, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. It was all pre-planned.
Absolutely. Anything else? All right, as I mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, we will not be here next week, but we're lining up some guests for us the following week. So make sure you come back here at 6 p.m. at the Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill. Until next time, huddle up.